Rising like the sun, I'll be moving on. How could I ever be with you? After all you put me through, you feel like fever, fever every night. Fever, fever when we fight. Fever, fever in my head, in my mind. I was blinded by your lies. You were never real. You built me up and broke me down. This is how I feel. I was blinded by your lies. You left me all alone. You built me up and broke me down. Shattered every bone. I was blinded by your lies. You left me all alone. You built me up and broke me down. Shattered every bone. Rising like the sun, I'll be moving on. How could I ever be with you? After all you put me through, I've been holding on to you. I was doomed, trying to hurt me with those words. I was numb. You felt like fever, fever, and my heart fell apart. I was blinded by your lies. You were never real. You built me up and broke me down. This is how I feel. I was blinded by your lies. You left me all alone. Built me up and broke me down. Shattered every bone. I was blind. Your love was never
Hello, how are we looking? Right, let's just check the mouse is working. Cool. So I'm trying to get some audio in the background today, so let's see how that's going. Right. Okay, so first up, I have decided to build the enclosure. And so, I've got a whole bunch of rather long extrusions. So Tin Man, I'm gearing up to do that. I have, however, discovered that my temporary home for this, which is this desk, is not going to be deep enough. So that'll be fun. I bought these from Ooze Nest again. This time all pre-tapped, even if they didn't need to be. Not making that mistake again. Right, why is that so blurry today? required. So, however long ago it was, we got up to this stage. So the y-axis part of the assembly is complete. The x-axis rails are sliding smoothly all the way along, but I need to assemble the lead screw on and the motor plate. No, sorry, the bearing plate on the far end. Cool. So that's where we got to. Okay, I've not done anything offline whilst you guys weren't around, so we're literally picking up right from where we left off. Why is this not clicking? The mill is acting perfectly as some sort of Faraday cage, preventing me from my mouse from connecting to the PC. How are you doing, Exco and Samuel? Right. Let me just grab the build guide up and let's just scroll through to where we need to be. So we want the end of the x-axis installation, don't we? Oh, man. So that's why. And so I'm skipping the cable chains at the moment. We have built all of those blocks on. Okay, good. What time is it for you? Are you US based, UK based? Right, we've got to attach the lead screw onto the motor and then attach the motor onto the plate. That should be pretty straightforward. Struggling with this focus, aren't we, today? What's going on? It's a little bit better. I think it might be because it's so dark in here today, and my light has been borrowed by my other half, and I have no idea where it is. 2 PM there. Of course, you must be US based or that direction. Right. Motor. Another one of the LDIO bad boys. 809. What's that then? 809. So you're what? An hour ahead? Spider coupler. Some Allen keys. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to be building an enclosure because my biggest annoyance last time when I was running the parts on Jake's mill was just how much cleanup there is because of how many chips this thing can throw out. I'm going to move this off to the side for a moment. My music in the background doesn't seem to be working, does it? Let me just try and add an audio source. I suspect it's because as soon as I started streaming, it cancelled it. these things. How is that going? Can you hear the music now? Yes, I do. So, do I have an exact design yet? Not yet. I'm going to be toying with the idea of just in the one ear. How infuriating. I think we're going to have to just accept that for now, because I'm not clever enough to make it go both ways. Right. Yeah, I do plan on making some way covers. Haven't settled on a design yet, unfortunately. I just haven't had the time I would have liked to be able to put in prior to, well, just prior to building all of this, to be honest. I would have liked to have a lot more time. But I'll either be using 3D printed way covers, some machined on Milo and then bent using a vice press brake way covers, or possibly, if I can find a set that works, I will be aiming to get a set of those rubber way covers that you see. Quite a lot of the suppliers on AliExpress sell them, and I'm hoping to find a set that sort of mostly fit that we can get away with, because I don't think there'll be any suppliers willing to work with us just for such a small quantity. I need to replace my wireless headphones so I can hear what's going on. Right. Okay. So I need to install it from the other side. I'm always terrified this is going to just slide off. I'm just thinking, which way do I want the lead out to go? That is the question. Let's just take the motor off for a minute. Can't you make thick paper ones? You could do, and that would be a really good way to prototype whether or not the other shapes will work, but I don't see that being that robust long term. Oh, there we go. I've gone straight through. Might need to just get in here and tip it in up. That lead screw a little bit. Yeah, I don't see paper ones lasting that long is my only issue there. But it's a good idea for prototyping, that's for sure. Right. Balance that there while I find my M5x20s. Well, cap head. Where are you two with your build at the moment? Builds? Right, I'm just going to get these 4 bolts in loosely to start with. And I'll torque them all up once it's in place. Hindsight, I could have done with rotating this to get in a position where it didn't topple over. We just lost a bearing. So 220 is not, I mean, do a bit of research, it's fairly easy to be quite safe, but obviously the consequences are big, so do stay within your comfort zones. That's my dog's usual spot for checking out the who's coming and going. Right, one motor attached. No, I haven't checked out your new markdown docks. I'm quite interested to see, to be honest. Maybe I'll get them up for people to have a look at next time. So locking collar, then do these a bit before they will do up. it'll be good to have some nice quick closed loop feedback like that on the docks though, especially at this stage where we're still essentially learning as we go along. Right. Install both locking collars on the lead screw without tightening either locking collar. Easy enough. Trying to think what else I've been working on since the last stream, and not a lot really. I've been having trouble with the Spider King board in terms of trying to get it with Linux CNC. It turns out the build, the config file for the firmware, that although it uses the same chip as another board that already exists, it's not cross compatible, so I'm having to sort of try and work out how to build that from scratch. I have however managed to load RepRap firmware on there, so I've got my backup ready to go when the time comes, so I can at least keep progressing. 5x12s. Yes. So 6 and 5x12s to hold this end plate on. If everything goes well, these holes should nicely line up. The tapped ones on the end of the extrusions. In theory. Again, embedded tool chain. They never work, as the doc said they should. Nope. Never do. It's quite frustrating because Linux CNC, having played around with the demo environments on just sort of on the Raspberry Pi without it being directly connected to the Spider King, are really cool. Like, you've got toolpath visualization, sort of machine visualizations and all sorts. So it's quite, it'll be such a shame to have to go back to Linux CNC. You can just screw straight in. I mean, I bought that board because I had the option for both, so theoretically the option for both, and I'll keep working on the Linux CNC as we go ahead. Right, so I've just got a couple of these bolts in, and now I've just got to tighten up all the rest. Sometimes I wish I had one of those little wow stick things that Nero seems to love. All of this light duty screwing would be a lot quicker without the risk of absolutely stripping threads that you'd get by using a drill. Yeah, well, get in the hole. Motor screwdriver. Yes. Yep. It's a bit of a trade-off, isn't it? I really would love to not have to do all these manual turns, though, to be fair. I have to see what's available. My tool budget disappeared on the this enclosure build that'll be coming up, so yeah. But what I realised is I need to get the enclosure ready before I want to do the wiring, otherwise I'm just going to have to redo what I want to do. Essentially though, I'm going to be extending these wires, probably connectorising them here actually with some waterproof connectors, extending them and having all of the control electronics and boards in the electronics section on the enclosure. Just looking ahead for in case I ever want to do anything using coolant or mist systems, etc. I don't really want my electronics in the base. Also, just from a maintenance point of view, Milo's pretty heavy. I don't really want to be flipping it over all the time. Right, good. Can still twist that easily enough. Yeah, man, the amount of time I spent vacuuming previously, like I was always going to build an enclosure, and I figured when Tin Man had done such a good job with all the electronics areas and everything, I was just like, it's stupid me not going all in now and just being set up from the start. It will mean it's much easier to run the mill and leave half-finished projects, for example, if I run out of time, without having to do quite the same level of cleanup each time I want to do anything on it, which hopefully means I get to use it more. Also, it means I'm less likely to get aluminium bits in the dog's paws, as she's very insistent on basically sitting wherever we are. Hey, congratulations, Coil. What's your Discord name? I don't recognise that handle. Good. Locking collar preload. Oh, it's already getting a bit heavy. So we're just going to be preloading this locking collar, and so the whole point of this preloading system is to take the axial load from the lead screw off of the motor itself. So some of these stepper motors are rated to pretty good axial forces on them, but it's best practice not to load your stepper motors like that. Even the good ones will fail a lot sooner if they're under quite high loads. Ah, cool, Martin. It's good. It's good to see lots of new people every day on that. I almost can't keep up now with the people's new builds, which is a little bit sad, but always exciting to see new members. In terms of the Fusion 360 library, I don't know which sets of tools you're using or not, but there is a Fusion 360 library file for the Dreenique starter mill set that I create. I worked with Dreenique to set up. It's very basic though, and it just has the shapes and sizes and a rough starting point for the for it. Good. So what I was just checking there was that I'd managed to. Oh, good. So there is a Fusion 360 library floating around for those that you can download. If no one's got it available, I can dig it out but I did send it to Jake a while ago to be uploaded. I think it's on the GitHub. Right, so what I was just checking there was that I'd managed to retain enough tension on this locking nut in here so that I don't get any forwards and backwards play in this system once that nut was tightened. Again, you should Loctite these, but I already know I'm going to be taking this mill apart again in a bit. Purely because I've got a number of things I need to test. So I'm willing to accept any slippage. Right. What have we got next? So this is more drag chain stuff. Again, I'm going to skip this because I want to do all my wiring stuff near the end. Again, to avoid damaging the end stop, I'm going to skip this step as well. Oh, and we're on to the Z-axis. That came around nice and quick today, after all the slow progress of the other days. Yeah, Martin, so the Dreenique end mill set is really useful. So I put it together based on my experience in getting started with Millennium Mill. Ah, perfect at scale. Yep, so GitHub has the tool library, so if you just download that, it will have the 7 tools. You won't have to set up the shapes, etc. yourself. There are feeds and speeds in there. Should only be one set, I think, at the moment. We need to go back once I've got this machine up and running and fill in all the blanks so that we've got roughing, finishing and all of those things set up a bit more. Those numbers that are in there at the moment are from when I was pretty much pushing the machine to its limits, and then I just dialed them back a little bit, and that's the numbers that are in there for now. Right, Z-axis assembly. So I'm going to put all of this aside. Oh, you are getting heavy. Right. is there a machine model for Fusion 360 available? So the whole thing, the whole project was modelled in Fusion 360. That's, we just got, you can obviously see it. However, there is not a CAM machine model as such set up yet, as far as I'm aware, unless Tin Man has managed to do that, and I've not noticed. I know he was looking at doing it. It certainly will be something we're going to be working on. But that said, the only dimension you really need to worry about is the clearance height between your bed and the bottom of the knee. None of the others you'll be able to crash with anything. So it will literally just be your part height plus any spoil boards etc. you've got needs to be less than that, or you're likely to crash the part into your Z-axis. But we will be adding a machine model for the CAM environment soon. But it requires us learning how and what you have to do for that, and none of us have done that before. Right. Build guide. What are we going to do now? So we need some more C-beams. Presumably a 260 or 250. Ooh, two the same. So that'll be the 260. Right. You are very short. It's probably the 120. Okay, I know why mine looks different. One sec, I just need to grab measuring tape. There's a step file on GitHub, I'm not sure if it was asked for. Yeah, so in terms of the actual model of the machine itself, it's definitely available. It's on Fusion 360. That's shared. There's a step file on GitHub. If you're on about a CAM environment machine, then it's not available right now. So this one's 320. This one's 320. So that's where I've added an extra 60mm to the Z-axis. This one's 250. And then this will be my little short one. Little baby 120. Right. So the reason my numbers don't add up here is I've gone for 120mm clearance between the bed and the Z-axis. So I've essentially added 60mm to the two longer extrusions to increase the height of the Z. I'm also going to be building with FMJ plates. Wherever you've gone. Some nice bits of solid steel. So you'll see me deviating a fair amount from the build guide through this next section, in case I didn't deviate enough from it already. Right, what did we need next? Okay, so essentially it wants us to assemble the two taller Z-axis extrusions together using these parts, but I am obviously not using those 3D printed bits, so let's just fully understand the next few steps, which is essentially build up 3 sections, making sure we have an 18mm clearance from the short one to the front one. Cool. So we are just going to come straight out of here, and everything's M5 by 12. Back to the webcam, and we're just going to go a bit wild. Right. Okay, where did that go? Boom. So, 1 carbon steel, and then rust proof coating painted Z-axis FMJ plate. I have the model, but making that work as a CAM model will likely need a lot of time to make it work. Yep, you're exactly right. And that is partly why we've not done it yet. What you need is essentially a really basic shape. An example of the mill, but made with really basic shapes, just rectangles and squares. It's really sort of dumbed down so that it doesn't add lots of time to the simulations when you turn the collision work on. And so it's not too distracting. We will be doing it. It doesn't exist yet, and you can do plenty of machining without actually needing to have that. Right, so I'm going to be using a lot of these. And we're going to start by positioning the holes. So the FMJ essentially sits with 20mm clearance on the bottom. So I'm just going to drop these in about where the holes line up. Might be really nice at some point to print a paper template for this, just so you don't have to hold a whopping grape. Because these weigh about 1 kilo or something each. That way it gets a bit achy on the arm pretty quickly. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 100%. The weakest part in terms of stiffness on the mill is the Z-axis. So especially if you've opted to go for more than the 60mm standard height, you sort of want to move towards a set of upgrades like this. I suspect you will actually get a pretty good performance boost just going to the aluminium version that some of the suppliers are going to start offering, but you will get an even bigger increase if you go to steel, and hopefully my testing will help show how big an improvement that is. Right, so I need it there, so 3 there, 2 there, sorry. Yes, you could. I suspect you could just measure it and drop that. Sorry, not measure it and just drop that bearing block on. I just have to check the next steps of the assembly, but I kind of don't see why not, to be honest. So another 3 in here. This part of the build is going to be probably the most challenging in terms of getting everything really neatly aligned. There's a lot of opportunities in this assembly for things to get a little bit out of position. Is that all of the ones on these extrusions? That is the question. Yes, it is. Okay. Now the fun begins. lining them all up accurately. So I'm going to do my normal trick of placing it next to the part as close as I can to get them aligned initially. And then what I do is I place it directly over the part. Yeah, cool. And then just poke the Allen key through the hole just to do a bit more fine alignments. Look pretty good on that one. So again, I'm not Loctiting these because I have plans on taking this apart again. I have some what I'm calling the light metal jacket parts as well. So these are just 3mm aluminium, but even these should add significant stiffness over just your normal printed parts. Is anyone else using a Duet mainboard on their machines? I think Tin Man might have, but there's no reason why you should have any issues with an official Duet board. They're very good. I'm using the Duet 3 mainboard on a machine at work, and it just works. No complaints there at all, so you should be fine. And configuration should be very straightforward because it's essentially identical to the other boards that people have been using. And the only reason why people aren't is simply cost. Before I go further, I'm just going to quickly hop into Fusion and measure the distance from the bottom of the FMJ just to make sure that I get this in the right place before I do all of these bolts up. Oh, lovely. Thanks, Fusion. 0 degrees. Out. Very helpful. Okay, yep. So we're 20mm from the bottom. So I'm just going to use this extrusion as a template. Yeah, good. Spot on. Yeah. Yeah, I like the Duets too. For 3D printer use now, I've sort of moved away from them. I went pretty much all in on Clipper. I didn't see any real advantage to the Duet boards over the much cheaper boards available for Clipper that were more than sufficient in terms of current capability and so on for the printers that I was running them on. And then I ended up removing my Duet boards from the lineup just to reduce the number of firmware systems that I was running in parallel. It's just easier for me to keep everything running and up to date that way. But no, I am. It's quite nice. It was quite nice going back to using RF on the machine that I borrowed off of Jake. So these FMJ plates have some nice cutouts ready for your sort of cable mounting and other bits and bobs. So you can still drop your T-nuts in after the fact, which is handy. Annoyingly, some of the changes that I've made to the spindle mean that I will need to modify... Oh no, thank you Xgo. I'm so bad at swapping back to that. What I really need is one of those nifty little buttons. Oh, I'm also looking at trading in my my SLR for a more modern one, so I can get much better image quality on the stream. Mine is too old to work with the Nikon streaming software. Okay, now let's repeat. Hopefully it should have swapped back away from Fusion now. Right, it's 1, 2 there. 2 here. Oh, I'm going to have to start pre-placing these before I stream, they take so long to put them all in. So many bolts. But once this is up and running, it will be much nicer just doing some machining streams. I need to come up with a good nickname like Chips and Dips or I also need to think of a good way to be able to have audio when doing the machining, but not absolutely deafen everyone with the sound of my 2.2 kilowatt air-cooled spindle. 1, 2, 3. That one looks way... Oh, it's got a really big... These are some cheap spring-loaded T-nuts. Okay, let's just double check that I've got the same number of bolts in. Need one extra. To be honest, just having it all inside the enclosure is a massive improvement on the sound. If you've not seen Tin Man's videos, do check them out. It's mad. He's done a really good job of designing it to keep all that noise in. So that will probably be the biggest difference, and then probably placement of the microphone I think will be key. in terms of true active noise cancellation. That would be very interesting to see, but probably more complicated and money than it's worth, unfortunately. You don't see commercial grade machines doing anything like that. So in terms of FMJs, unfortunately they're just too big to fit on Milo, so we're never going to be able to make them, as Jake said, part of the main build. But they're really easy to get manufactured for you. Anyone that can laser cut you some aluminium or steel parts should be able to churn you out one of these for relatively low cost, especially if you can get together with a few other people in your region. So we got the cost of these steel ones down to 50 quid a set, which I think is quite reasonable. Where's my test piece? Yeah. Bring it down a touch. Okay. I've sort of just been relying on the fit of the locating holes to deal with all of my alignments so far. I suspect I'm going to have to fine tune that as I build the other parts in. To be honest, in hindsight, if I'd thought ahead, I would probably have bought some washers, mostly just to try and avoid damaging my painted surface. Right. Okay, so long one's done. Yes, yeah, that list will be really helpful. You're totally right. I can get these sort of plates manufactured in China for next to nothing. Then the shipping cost makes it more expensive than it was for me to do it in the UK. Although I'm pretty sure the supplier, which was Xometry, was it Fractory? I can't remember which. Gets them made in China anyway, but they do it in bulk and then get them all shipped over on the slow boat together. Right, so the short one is going on next. Drop that in, and that should be level with this bottom edge. Yeah, we should probably pin that message. That would be really helpful to help keep track with. Little doggo's just curled up and gone to sleep. She's got a good life. Yeah, I might come up with some paper templates for these, because it would be nice to be able to just drop a paper template over the top and know that they're all in the right place immediately. Jake, I think it's resources. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a good place for it. We could probably do is adding some advice on what to ask for. Some people might not be aware, but if you're ordering carbon steel like these, you will need to coat them because they will rust very quickly otherwise. If you're going for aluminium, then you're pretty much good to go. But anodizing costs a lot of money if you're only getting one at a time, so you will end up with you are likely to end up with just metal coloured plates rather than black if you go that route. And steel can actually be almost cheaper than aluminium in some instances. It's one of the other ones. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Jake's next stream. I missed the last one, unfortunately. I was, I don't even know what I was doing, but I wasn't able to catch it. Going mad. Where did I put my Allen key? There it is. This is already starting to get quite weighty. I think it's quite obvious how much of a difference these steel plates are going to make. The structure's already feeling pretty stiff with it. And conveniently, balances itself now. So annoyingly, my plate heights are marginally off. That one's tilted a little. Right, well, as I said, I suspect I'm going to have to tweak all of these once all the screws are done up. Yep, I suspect that the building process for the printed version of this is a bit of a challenge. I need to remember to get into like presenter mode and like repeat the chat question rather than just answering it. So what Xscale was saying is it's already worthwhile upgrade just because it stands on its own, and well, I mean, it looks cool anyway, even if that doesn't count as an upgrade. Right, the final Z section needs to go that round, doesn't it, with the open channel pointing outwards. Yes, cool. And this is where I need to leave the 18 mil gap and or Just measure it, and this one has a colossal number of bolts to go in place. Apologies. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to lie it back down so that I can line up the bolts. I was quite enjoying it being upright. And this one bit of extrusion has 6, 12, 16, 17 bolts on it. I think we could possibly optimise a reduction in these. Possibly. So you need to, so Martin, to get the tool library into Fusion 360, you need to enable local libraries, I think, before you can import it. And you essentially have to go into the CAM. Well, why don't I try and show you quickly? Do something useful in this stream rather than just building my own way along. Right, where are you, Fusion? Close that. So if we, let's open something more useful in the CAM environment. Right, manufacturing. So you're going to want to go to the tool library. Oh no, which you can't see. How annoying. Right, give me 1 second. I will add this extra little window that's just popped up. Window capture and tool library. Ooh. Right guys, I presume you can now see the tool library. Here. Ooh. Right click on, so if you right click on your local libraries, you can either create a new library or you can import libraries. If you're operating in the like a full paid version of Fusion 360, you can also save these as cloud libraries for your team, which will make it even easier when you jump between PCs, but generally speaking I just end up using the local library. As a team we did have this set up as a team library, but I don't have it anymore. Hopefully that helps. Is it Martin? Right. Let's go back to the webcam. Cool. What I have also just noticed though, is that I need to drop something. Ah, good. I'm glad that helped and that I was actually able to be useful for once. Some of us take it for granted that, well, we use Fusion 360 quite a lot and forget that others don't have all these things like tool libraries and stuff already set up and configured. Jeez. I think this might be an excessive number of bolts in hindsight. Feeling how stiff the other sections feel that have significantly less in. Line all of these up. There should be a small section that sticks out the top, so that's correct. What I have noticed is this C-section, I should have actually dropped that 18mm below where my FMJs ended, rather than being aligned, and this front one is the one that should be aligned. So actually, when you're working on the FMJ mod, it's actually easier to, you actually have to measure the opposite way around. You have to measure the 18mm drop on the rear parts, not the front parts. Front part. Oh, I've got so many devices. There we go. So I'm going to have to loosen that and drop that down before I do up this part. Yep. So SolidWorks is, you can actually afford SolidWorks, but the machining add-on is probably out of many of our budgets, as is certainly as is Mastercam. That is not a hobbyist level combination. Certainly not as far as I'm concerned. I could do with the ruler to get this 18mm accurately. It was there the whole time. Yeah, if you've used Mastercam though, Fusion's cam software, you should be more than capable of just dropping straight into it. The transition's pretty pain free as far as I'm concerned. I started my cam career, as it were, using SolidWorks, and HSM Works, I believe, was the sort of integrated cam package with that. Right, this needs to come down 18mm. Good. Oh man. Well, I won't need to go to the gym after flipping this over 20 times. So this one now lines up with the bottom, and that actually makes aligning all these millions of bolt holes a little bit easier. So Ed has been... Oh, hi Alex, how are you doing? You not down in the hack space today? And as you can... yes, I have used SolidWorks CAM. Like I said, I think it's HSM Works is the sort of the name of the built-in one. At least I believe so. Anyway, SolidWorks CAM is pretty good. I'd say it's pretty much on par with what Fusion offers. So if you already have a license which includes that, there's certainly no no real downsides to giving it a go, if I'm honest. Yeah, so I thought that, but then I did think that HSM Works was a third-party add-on, but then the one that I've got at work is HSM Works, so I don't know if SolidWorks bought them out, or is there a free... Or maybe there's a free machining package within SolidWorks itself, I'm not sure. As I said, I've only really used it in a industrial setting, so all of the packages and so on were available and managed for me. Right, I now need to repeat this loading on the opposite side. So many bubbles. You still remember falling asleep like a rock after assembling everything in a day? Not following the manual and just flipping the machine around all the time gets tiring. I bet. You were sort of ahead of the manual really, weren't you? Depending on how heavy it gets, Alex, I might bring it down to the hack space for you to have a look, but I'm suspecting it's going to get inconveniently large and heavy, especially seeing as it won't be able to run if I bring it down anyway, because all of the electronics is going to be tied up in the enclosure. Maybe if there's a day that I'm free for the whole day, we can make a day of it once it's up and running and have a machining day at the hack space, but 2, 3, 4. Yeah, otherwise moving it around isn't going to be a frequent occurrence. I think it's going to be too tall for my Passat, so I'd have to put it in the van, and then I'd have to pay the congestion charge to get it down to the hack space. But like I said, that would be worth it if we're doing a full day of something. I'm sure we can come up with a project. Yeah, I think, to be honest, the hardest part for me so far was the fact that I didn't print the carriage holders, and so then had to go along and do all of the then had to do all of the weird technique that Ray suggested for building it, which, to be honest, wasn't actually that difficult, so I would probably suggest it if you're like me and you don't like removing carriages from the rails. I generally try and avoid that at all costs, especially if you've got paired carriages and you want to make sure that all of your rails and carriages stay paired nicely. Oh, that is not the same size. Tina. Where's my other bag? Must be very disappointing if I am running a few tea-nuts short. Sure, I had another bag here somewhere. Interesting. Right, gonna have to go delving through my box of supplies. Interesting. I was sure I had many spares of the tea-nuts. And of the emissions charge. Yeah, that emissions charge means it's no longer convenient to just take my van into town for things now. Thankfully, I've got the car as well, so I'm not stuck. I'm not able to get in, but it is a bit annoying for things like this, where it would just be convenient to use the van instead. Right, well, now is the time to just check and hope that my random parcel that arrived is some of the tea-nuts that I've ordered for the enclosure, because it does look like I'm short. I guarantee I give up and then I find a whole bunch of them. It doesn't look like they're in here. Unfortunately, guys, it looks like, for whatever reason, either I didn't order enough tea-nuts, or I have misplaced the other bag. Although I could have sworn I'm definitely missing some other parts that I've put somewhere during this clear up, because I should also have a selection some other bits. No. Well, it looks like my build is unfortunately stuck until I get more tea-nuts. That's annoying. I think the current design definitely has excess bolts. If I put this one on this side and take 2 out of there, I can build this. I have 2 left over spare. That way I can at least get this bit assembled, test the theory like you said, and then I think we're going to have to call it a day there. I do have like 100 en route from AliExpress for building the enclosure. I think I just didn't count enough of the bolts for here because I am load short now for actually buying this part to it and for building the table, the electronics enclosure, so yeah. I'm pretty sure that I have just misplaced a bag full of them, and when I go through the collection of stuff under this desk they will appear. And like I said, I've got more en route, but it might mean that we need to do a change of plan for Wednesday, because I don't think they're due to arrive before then. Yeah, yeah, they have a lot. I think the number of bolts on this section is actually pretty good, and then this top bit is just probably a bit overkill. But anyway, we will see. More is always better, right, Samuel? Now hopefully I've got all of my bolts aligned. Not too bad. The thing is, I know for a while I'm gonna just add the extra bolts back in when the more T-nuts arrive, but thankfully that should be easy to do because I can just undo these top 4. Oh no, it's not going to be very easy to do. I'm going to have to undo it to do that. Let's just get this lined up and do it up anyway. When I originally made those, I was to be sure they didn't come off. Well, I get the feeling you might have done a good job. I don't see these coming off anytime soon. Not without me undoing them anyway. My fear has been realised. This plate is slightly different to the plate height of the one on the opposite side. But which one is correct? Almost exactly 20. Oh, there's not a lot in it, is there? Right, time to get the calipers out. It's too close to tell with the ruler which one is wrong. These things come with so many calibration reports and stuff. But like, you know, as a hobby user, are you ever going to get that updated? I think not. Okay. .12. Okay, it's definitely this one. Yeah. 19.4. So this right hand plate needs to drop by 0.5 mil so it's in line with the other one. Only 30 or so bolts to loosen. Right, once I've got these lined up, I'm going to open my mystery AliExpress parcel and we're going to find out if it is related to Millennium Mill or if it's a random 3D printer part that I've been sent. And then I think we're going to call it a day because I don't really want to do all of these bolts up on this top section, just to want to go back and add in the extras because, you know, I think having gaps will look silly. Just trying to ease all of those T-nuts along a fraction to move this plate down that 0.5 mil that I needed. Can't get purchased any of it. Right. Okay, that looks much better. Right, once I've tightened these up, again, let's see. Just feeling this assembly as I'm like lifting up and moving it around, I can sort of already tell that it's insanely stiffer compared to the 3D printed version, which makes me think the next weakest point is going to be down the bottom here where it attaches to the y-axis. Those are 3 pretty chunky. Got 4 bolt holes, so 4 bolts per side. It's going to be quite stiff anyway. Well, you think of beauty. Right. Let's align these last bolt holes. Miles off on this side. How have I managed this? Okay, well, that one's coming off anyway, so cool. Overall, I'm really happy with how this looks. It feels hefty and strong. So I'm excited. I'm very excited for the next stream where we're going to attach this onto the rest of it. Right, so shall we finish today's stream off by seeing what's in my mystery AliExpress package? Okay. So this could be enclosure parts. This could be, well, it could be anything. You never know with AliExpress. It could be some parts sent by some of the suppliers. Control board for me to test out or something like that. Certainly feels like it's going to be a control board. Ooh. What have we got here? Right, it looks like it is a can tool head board. Looks exciting. Yep, and what appears to be a USB to can adapter. Interesting. Although I must admit, a USB to can adapter more or less undoes the point of having a can tool head board. It may as well be USB at that point. Yep, so this is a tool head board, SB can tool head board from Fisect. Oh, that is not very in focus. Cool, so that is probably going to go. Oh, I need to decide which printer it's going on. Nice. I've not used them yet because for quite a while I was just thinking they're quite a lot of extra mass for not that much gain, but actually because I try and take my tool head apart so often to test new parts, it's going to be really helpful having that there and ready. So I'm looking forward to testing it. Yep, they appear to have sent me this UCAN adapter as well. So that I can go from USB to can open for boards that don't support can open. They've sent me a micro USB wire, which by the looks of it is for the can board, although it shouldn't need that because it should be powered and communicating just over the can wire, so that must just be for programming. And nice, and they've sent a pre-crimped can lead with power, 24 volt power ground terminals that are pre-crimped, and just flying leads on the two can H and can L lines. Cool. I'm looking forward to playing with that. Awesome. Right, well guys, I'm going to call it a day here. I'm going to order some more M5 T-nuts, and I will see you hopefully on Wednesday if I can get hold of the parts in time and I'll find them, and if not, it will be next week. So, right, thank you guys.